Welcome, 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 everyone. Super happy to have you here for, pardon me, I'm just realizing that monitor's on. Welcome in for the XLN Community Cup Finals, Day 2. It all comes down to today, ladies and gentlemen. We have just 5 more matches ahead of us to decide who wants their fair share of that $1,500 prize pool. But, well, speaking of prize pool, let's just go ahead and go over it. We got $800 first place, $400 second place, $200 third place, and a $100 top frag most eliminations prize. But as it currently stands, let's have a look at these overall results after day 1. So, yes, there has certainly been a tone set by Velocity with a 16-point lead over the second place holders in Alpha 7, who hold 53, iNCO in third at 41, and that's where we start to see the points really get a little bit tighter. XFORCE trailing iNCO by only 3 points. The 4 Sexy Frogs behind XFORCE by only 1. Poison in 6 with 34, tied neck and neck with Digital Age. And Celebrity Killers is only 2 points behind that. So the entire first half of the bracket here, the first, I'd say, 4th through 8th place are really a contention of only 9 points apart. So anything could happen here moving into day 2. And as we know to be the case with these high cash value final day events, something to look out for in the nature of PUBG Mobile Esports. A lot of the teams that maybe haven't fared as well as they would hope in day 1, maybe if they don't have the start to day 2 that they're hoping for, then the strategy could shift to trying to ruin someone else's day and kind of ruining the odds for other teams. Now, that can be toxic any way you look at it, but it's fun to watch. So, something to be on high lookout for. But already off the rip, I'm going to go ahead and get my attention to the boys in, pardon me, this is GB. They are not too far alone here. It looks like they've got members of Velocity as well as version 9 not too far apart. Actually, I am seeing iNCO a little bit closer to the action. It looks like Bruno Zen landing just alongside his opponent here. Multiple apologies, ladies and gentlemen. There we go. Now we got the correct slot list up. Yeah, the Celebrity Killers seem to be in closest proximity to iNCO. Now, just to get a lay of the land here, well, we got this brief moment of downtime, as to be expected with the start of a 8x8 map like Erangel. Something just sheer size can happen. And so while we are left with these moments of downtime, let's just go have a look at this flight path. It was fairly good, pardon me, this first zone here and this lay of the land, the spread that we're dealing with. Now, right off the rip, I'm seeing Velocity in the feed here, and that is bad news bears for GTS especially. We got a Nuxify who is actually currently holding the top frag, absolutely dominating the playing field with literally 19 eliminations. Second place is held by Alpha 7 Sensation, who's got 16. So he's got a 3 elim lead as well. So not only is Velocity holding first place in the event overall, they are also first up in the running for that top frag prize as well. Also, I'm noticing got some potential congestion gathering here around the Yasnaya region. It looks like iNCO is still alongside Gthesis, but whether or not that's going to happen is yet to be seen. Let's go have a brief look at it just to see who on Gthesis it is. Oh, it's the full squad. And they do have a bit of space. So as we were saying at the beginning of the match, you know, you are left with moments of downtime occasionally in these larger maps, and anyone who's seen me commentate knows my spiel, but that's okay because a slower start to the match is always going to equal a more action-packed mid or in-game. It's a trade that we have to make occasionally, but it usually ends up being a trade worth waiting for. But as you can see, everyone just sort of getting a slower start to the day. Now, this zone shift does make me have a little bit of concern for the boys down south here. I am, of course, speaking of Digital Age here at the military island base, because they're going to have to work their way either across the bridge or do a boatation or a Michael Phelps swim across the waterway here. But one thing is for sure is that if they were to go right now, the 4 sexy frogs are inevitably waiting for the opportunity to bridge camp. Yeah, I don't really see anything else on the playing field, so let's go have a brief look at, I guess we can just go hunt around while we wait for these things. One thing we can do while we're getting into this is, you know, Erangel is by far the map everyone knows by heart. Every, you know, nook and cranny, every ditch and divot should at this point be muscle memory, kind of recognizable like the back of your hand. So by all means, I would expect this to be the most comfortable map of the day. But realistically, 7 years into the PUBG Mobile esports scene, I think we can safely say all these maps, with the exception of Rondo, are pretty rehearsed in the esports scene. So we got the frogs here putting out some warning shots towards the boys in Phyra. Lux just going to be doing an every man for himself vehicle rotation. Probably not overly concerned with taking this fight on so early. Keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, it is just round 1 of day 2. They got 5 matches to make their mark known. And I believe we just saw iNCO in the feed here. So let's get a brief look here. See if we are getting the action. Yes, it's going to be McGrellin securing the first elimination for iNCO and himself with the S12. And he's not out of the thick of it yet. There are still a little bit of Gthesis congestions here happening. And it looks like it's Mo, only Mo. His teammate Marshall is a little bit further back here, trying to provide that off-angle cover. But realistically, if McGrellin finds, you know, a proper utility and a little bit of luck, he may not even have to present himself to Mo to get that elimination. Looks like McGrellin is going to go ahead and prioritize staying alive, not risking himself this early on. They got 1 elim out of it, and knowing when to bow out and dip out of dodge is a very useful goal nonetheless. The boys in A7, though, up north with the likes of Complex Esports, we see Chris. Well, we saw Chris. And then guess who got guessed out real quick? They guessed pretty easily as Tuffo retaliates with a knock on to guess who. Obscure going to try to secure this revive before a potential push from the remainder of Complex. But as you can see here on in the distance, we have not just Complex Esports, but the boys in Poison as well. And you can bet your bottom dollar that Poison has a lot to prove here today, after having such a strong start yesterday with that round 1 chicken dinner and then just falling into the background from that point forward. But you know, we also have another team here who wasn't able to make it yesterday. It is the Big Bad Wolves themselves, and already catching a line of sight potentially on one of the 4 sexy frogs. Coops, the KOOPS, the name whose name strikes fear into anyone who hears it in an A. Definitely not going to find any easy peeks by the frogs if they realize that this is, in fact, the wolves close by. And, oh, Coops dropped like a bad habit right then and there. Luckily, he does have his teammates close by. The wolf pack is all close. Doran preparing for the inevitable push by the frogs, and actually Doran's going to be in charge of medic duty, which is going to leave everything into Baton and his teammate to provide the overwatch and cover fire against these frogs. Joy Boy adding an additional pressure factor, driving right up to the mix for better or for worse. Keep in mind, you know, Wolves, after missing the entirety of day 1 at finals, the likelihood of being able to even secure payment placement it's slim to none. So the Wolves really don't have that much to lose. So with that bit of intel in mind, it makes you wonder if this is a fight worth engaging for the frogs. I mean, a team as synergized and experienced as the Wolves, certainly not to be taken lightly. But At the same time, you can't take the frogs lightly either. Oh, I'm seeing some of the X-Force crew. Yeah, let's get a line on that. Legend, Fate, 99, and DK up in the mix with the frogs now. And it looks like DK at the forefront of it. Pardon me, 9 at the forefront of it. With the infamous X-Force hovercraft strat in effect. Now, these are the guys that literally invented the hovercraft strategy in PMSL. And you can see just why, as look at them go. Just bowling pins. We got 99 making frog legs out of these frogs right now. And it says that tastes close enough to chicken to me. That was quick work for X-Force and definitely a lot more in line with the X-Force we come to know and love. Now we're starting to see a lot of congestion as this new zone shifts inland. It's going to give our participants a bit more wiggle room as they don't have any water occupying this new zone. But at the same time, that zone shrinking is going to give them less and less space to choose from. And that battle for prime real estate is going to ensue. Already, we can see the Wolves are out hunting, trying to catch a scent of any potential easy knocks or third-party elim steals as they circle around Pachinki. Tell you what, though, we're going to switch our attention briefly to iNCO. I think iNCO might be... Yep, we got Aegis in the mix as we speak with none other than the boys in DS. All right, with Bruno's in and Magrellan remaining. Bruno a little ways away. Magrellan... I'm not sure what's going on with Magrellan. But we are getting a third party coming in from Alpha 7, giving some unintentional assistance to the boys in iNCO. Tell you what, let's get this up on the alt cam here. Yeah, here you can see it. Guess who? At the forefront of this push, we're going to actually pull them up on the big screen. And we'll move iNCO to the side cam. Yeah, it looks like actually it's going to be Gazao who's in hot pursuit of the Broken Spirits. Finding himself also relatively close to Excellence. Excellence going to be occupying the Ruins area. Actually, it looks like it's just going to be 33, a little bit a ways away from his teammates. Actually, I'd withdraw that. They're right over there. It's just a 2-1 split. Rookie mistakes on RedEyes' end. But also, in the distance, some potential threats inbound in the shape and form of Team Liquid. As you can see, Ashu holding a position, trying to catch a line of sight. Any easy elim steals will be most welcome. And as you can see on the alt cam here, we got the map up. Little bit of a spread remaining here. Some shots being put outward by iNCO. And it does actually look like Bruno is able to secure a knock right then. Aegis going to try to add on to the momentum built from his teammate. All the while, their opponents in Excellence had plenty of time to secure a revive and probably going to get healed up before this push from iNCO, which I gotta say, you know, it would boil down to like wanting to call that an error, but at the same time, you know, these boys are so rehearsed. They know what they're doing. They have Aegis hanging back for that off angle and really keeping the pressure factor on Excellence. But at the same time, 33, a little bit of a similar strat being implemented by Excellence. And so it's just 2-2-1 splits here. 2 off angle holders scouting, and it's just going to be a problematic situation for both teams. This is going to come with heavy losses, I would imagine, for both. Wawan cooking up a preliminary utility here for Magrellan, I believe. Oh, pardon me, Bruno's in is his closest threat. All the while, Alpha 7, guess who, in the alt feed here on the bottom right, getting some third-party opportunities on this altercation. Here we go. Quick work, a little bit unsuspecting, and that actually just going to have to boil down to hesitance or error on Excellence's end. should be at any point expecting that iNCO push. But Bruno's in with a monster nade. Will it be enough? It's enough to take Jawsy right back down to the prone zone, and back to lobby they go. Excellence out of the equation at the hands of iNCO. And we're hearing some additional shots being put outward. Bruno's in, responsible for 3 of the team's 5 elims already on the board here. iNCO, with 3 members still remaining up, off to a great start here to begin day 2. Catching eyes on the Wolves just briefly here, we can see the KOOPS, the big bad Coops himself, not far off from the boys in version 9. And yep, Coops may be trying to catch a line of sight on Godkid. No, it's actually just trying to find a vehicle, and it does appear like the Phyras are going to be engaging with version 9 as well. As I say that, I might be choking on my words here as Room catches a line of sight on Coops, but does not engage for any of it. Liquid trying to catch a wind of Coops' rotation as well. A couple warning shots put out, but not enough to really add any panic factors. But no time to waste, ladies and gentlemen. I think we have another fight on the board here. It's going to be from the boys in version 9 as they make their big push onto almost there. Almost there, certainly making their name known on day 1. Acquiring a chicken dinner, maybe I believe even, maybe, hold on, let me actually check the board here. Lexi, let me know in the chat, did Almost There secure more than 1? They didn't, did they? Not on day 1. I was about to give them a little bit more props than I intended. But regardless, a team that has certainly made their name and presence known in the Titan Premier Series, as well as on day 1, but regardless, has a lot of ground to cover here on day 2 if they want any shot of that $1,500 prize pool. Yeah, almost there. Yeah, actually, I'm gonna go ahead and choke on those words. Almost there. Literally, not only did they not have a winner chicken dinner, but according to my ranking board, literally dead on last place. So I'm gonna have to confirm that with staff just to be sure, because I'm pretty sure we all saw several moments of them popping off yesterday. But regardless, could not have been more off the mark with that them being a contention for prize money there. Regardless, back to the task at hand. We got the Wolves in fairly close proximity to not just iNCO, but Alpha 7 as well, and that would be a battle of the Titans to say the least. Digital Age off in the distance, engaging with none other than CK, the Celebrity Killers. It looks like it was a quick work as it was just one CK member off on his own. The remainder of the team bowing out, cutting their losses, and securing placement in this new zone. And oh my gosh, look at this new zone, ladies and gentlemen. It is 100% going to be a battle for high ground. Exactly where Alpha 7 is going to be a point of contention here, and for several reasons. That high ground providing that overwatch and just oversight on the entirety of the remainder of the playing field. But on top of that, literally almost no compound cover afforded in this next zone. It's going to be a tough situation where essentially whoever is the king of the hill could have a 270 to 360 degree line of sight on the entire playing field. Digital Age, ooh, just got X'd out by XFORCE right then and there. It is the infamous hovercraft strat in full effect at the hands of 9. And that hovercraft might be smoking, but it can probably handle at least another half clip of bullet damage at the least. Now, as you can see, we have Poison Esports off in the feed here. It looks like they are getting distance knocks on none other than Complex Esports. Complex definitely had a lot of support in the chat yesterday. I'm curious to see if they are still, here in chat rooting for them. Let me know. But so much action is about to happen over the next 2 minutes. absolute bloodbath warfare is about to ensue, and we see the Sinners in the feed here. Where are they? Sinners, where are you? Oh, pardon me, they're Team 18. For some reason, I thought that they were a different slot number. But they are closing distance here with the boys in Alpha 7. It's going to be a tough fight, especially from this low ground disadvantage. Not to mention not having all the numbers in their favor either, but I might have to withdraw that. It looks like A7 is also a 3-piece here, but Gazao putting out, Mafioso putting out a preliminary warning nade that actually does take Karen down to about half health. Adding on to that some shots towards the buggy, towards Jazzy. And it's going to be a little unintentional assistance to Team Liquid, who's able to build off that momentum and secure the knock on Buggy Boy. XFORCE off in the feed yet again. It's DK responsible for 5 of the team's 9 eliminations. This is XFORCE in full form here. All the while, A7 is going to be going off in the side cam here. Tell you what, let's pull up A7 on the main feed. Yeah, on top of this, we got Gazao catching a line on almost there, but in the middle of it, iNCO's Magrellan just drives right through without taking a single bullet of gunfire from him. But in the process, driving by not just what remains of the Wolves, but Entity as well. Entity still a full 4-person team, but with 0 elims to their name. As I say it, we see Ace of Entity getting the very first elim for himself and the team. And I think we can say Bruno's going to be a focal point for the boys in Poison, trying to enshroud himself in what bits of cover he can here. Lay may or may not know his location, but his attention has certainly been turned towards the broken spirit, Teddy. Teddy kind of having to make his final stand here, desperately trying to heal up, but all for naught as he is eliminated right out of the equation. And Coops, the KOOPS, gets naded out by Alpha 7 then and there. Alpha 7 up to 7 eliminations and still a full 4-person team, taking some warning shots from the high ground holders in Velocity. To say that Velocity are currently the kings of the hill is not just a literal statement, but metaphorically as well. They are leading the placement board currently with a 16-point lead over Alpha 7 at the start of the day. But as XFORCE coming in, even with just the numbers of 2 here, adding more and more eliminations and a caster curse as 9 is taken down out of the equation, and the end of XFORCE at the hands of RedEyes' caster curse. Well, down to 7 teams, ladies and gentlemen, spread across 17 players. I'm going to pull up the alt cam here, where Mafioso of Alpha 7, got taken down right before our eyes. And it was either from Velocity's Anuxify or from a off-angle holder in Gthesis. I couldn't see. But for now, we're going to get both sides of this Entity Alpha 7 confrontation up on the board. Guys, you can see it. Nexus OP driving right into the thick of it. Gazao, the final hope now for Alpha 7. And he's going to, for better or for worse, try to secure a revive on his fallen teammate before this inevitable push. Well, I shouldn't say inevitable push. If anything, Entity would probably try to prioritize a revive on their own member Nexus, or maybe just scoop them up in the vehicle. Regardless, if there was going to be a push on A7 pushing away from this new zone, it would have been risky, and the time to do it would have been a little bit sooner. So if that is the case of what they're trying to do here, a little too late. Entity does work themselves up from 1 to 3 elims over the last 2 minutes. Now almost there, still making themselves, their presence known here. I'm not sure about that last place positioning. If it is legitimate, then they certainly are hitting the ground running here on day 2. Knight preparing a utility here, trying to get a lucky takedown on Marshall, and it actually ends up coming from Velocity's Anuxify, I believe. All the while, Entity and Poison Esports squaring off just outside the safety of this new zone. Lori with a monster nade. If Entity had not moved, it would have been down, done, and dusted. And Lori just putting out an onslaught, getting a 1v2 as they push her in a vehicle. Lori is absolutely bringing the toxic poison to Team Entity right here and now. Boom! Taking Ace down to just above half health, almost sinking these battleships, calculating the trigonometry, and oof! Unfortunately, Ace does get that S12 takedown, and so now down to 3 teams spread across 5 people. We got ourselves a 3v1v1 to end round 1, ladies and gentlemen. Anuxify, the top fragger at the beginning of the day here, certainly a formidable threat, even as a solo. On the alt cam, we've got the solo for Team Entity, Mr. Ace himself. Anuxify getting some solid shots there on night, and it does look to be ooh, Ace actually gonna be taking out the other solo, Anuxify, with a phenomenal nade, but unfortunately that is going to now leave him in a 1v4 scenario. I'm trying to switch over to him in time. There we go. Making his last stand with an S12. He has even the odds to a 1v1. Can he do it? Oh my goodness. That was almost insane. Any way you look at it though, ladies and gentlemen, that's game over. Now, if that overall results board that I was referring to is accurate, it would apparently mean that Almost There started the day off in last place, and I have my reservations about that. But regardless, if that is the case, talk about a locker room pep talk on Thursday night. Absolute change in the tides is Almost There now starting their day off with a high-calorie chicken dinner on the tip of their tongue finish. That is a very, very healthy 16-point gain in round 1 alone. If they can let this confidence not border into the realm of cockiness, but let this little rock become a boulder, let it snowball, build some momentum on this, who knows what the overall results could say at the end of match 5. We have seen crazier things happen than complete flops and turnarounds, complete upsets in 2-day events. But Entity, I want to criticize because we saw them approaching, I think it was like stage 4 or stage 5 with 0 elims, but to say that they don't make it to their in-game zones would be a lie. And to say that 5 elims is not, something to commend would be a lie as well. So ain't nothing wrong with silver if you got 5 elims to add on to it. I think that's a 13 or 14 point gain for Entity. But here's the real catch. You gotta get Velocity out of the equation much earlier on, because entering round 1 with a 16-point lead over second place and then still able to maintain top 3 positioning, that's great placement, and add on to it 7 elims, a very formidable threat to the playing field. Poison Esports showing a lot of improvement as well with a 4th place finish and 8 elims. We got the boys in Gthesis coming in 5th, but with a big fat onion for elims. Alpha 7 in 6th, but doing so boasting a healthy 8. iNCO in 7th with 7, 5 of which came from Bruno. We got, XFORCE, the infamous hovercraft strap boys, really finding their flow here in round 1 today with in 8th place with, 11 elims on the board. We got CK in 9th with 1, though Big Bad Wolves howling into 10th with 2. We got Broken Spirits in 11th with 5 between Teddy and Speedy. The Sinners in 12th with 3. We got Complex in 13th with 1 from Wishy. Liquid in 14th with 0. Digital Age in 15th with 6. Golden Pyrite in 16th with 1. JRZ in 17th with 0. Version 9 in 18th with 1 from Nito. Excellence in 19th with 0, and lastly, the 4 sexy frogs, dead last with a big old onion in terms of elims. But ladies and gentlemen, that's just one round down, done and dusted. We still have 4 more rounds of action, mayhem, and amazing PUBG Mobile esports ahead of us as we move in to round 2 of the PUBG Mobile XLN Community Cup Finals, Day 2, in just a few short moments. Stick around, we'll be back soon. Alrighty, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. It's round 2, Miramar. A little bit of OBS, emulator issues, but we are back in. Let's go ahead and get into the thick of it. We got Liquid here, pretty darn close in proximity to the Frogs here at the Picado region, but also a potential altercation looming way down south. And if I'm not mistaken, it's going to be the boys in XFORCE duking it out up against none other than, I believe that's Gthesis. Okay, a little bit of downtime apparently. So maybe we'll go back to the task at hand a little further up north, back to where the Frogs are dealing with Team Liquid. Hook's definitely going to be the closest in Luck's going to be the closest in proximity to Liquid, but Liquid all going to be occupying the same building here with a 3-1 split. I guess not all the same building, but I mentioned this yesterday. I have a real gear grinder with Picado just for this exact same reason, that it very often, just to the structure of the city and the main street dividing it, it just very often tends to be a standstill for those early game droppers. But we got JRZ Luis getting a takedown on almost there's Gutsy, and he's not out of the thick of it yet. He's a decent ways away from his teammates. As you can see, Hawiwi a little bit further back, and the other two probably going to be pulling a flank rotation here. So a 2-1-1 split going to probably be enough to hold almost there at bay. Not able to push in on him per se, but yeah, without taking out this almost there threat, I don't see him being able to escape that house. And we got Wiz here just awaiting this push. Ooh! Well, I've been waiting for this one.
And boom goes the dynamite.
Oh, talk about sticking your head out at the wrong time. Wiz, the final hope now for almost there, swimming in a pool of JRZ enemies, and this is not a position he wants to be in, with no escape route in the most open, vulnerable map in the game. And when I say he has no escape route, I am seeing that he had a truck there that he could have attempted to get out. Either way, that's with the observer's hindsight being 2020. All the intel that we had, he probably didn't. Regardless, almost there is out of the equation. So now, turning our attention down south, where it looks like the Wolves, yeah, we got Baton in the thick of it with version 9 securing a takedown. And it looks like maybe in the distance, the Frogs are finally squaring off with Liquid. Now, yeah, this is, again, pointing back to the same issue I was just mentioning, is, you know, granted, the Frogs are probably going to capitalize on this, but this is the issue of it, nonetheless, that it's such a vulnerable push that even after knocking, you'll often see these knocks not amount to pushes. Granted, I think the Frogs have just been fed up with that happening to them too many times, so they're pushing in regardless, but now, you know, they're coming at a pretty hefty price. They're losing members left and right. They're taking down 2 members of Liquid, but now it's a fair 2-2 fight. Hook's able to secure the revive on Furiosa here as he pushes inbound. He is cooking a preliminary nade, going to try to get an easy takedown without presenting himself to the enemy, but Luck's taken down to half health, desperately needing to heal up. We'll get Liquid up on the alt cam here so we don't miss any of the action. I might even shrink the size of this a little bit here. Oh man. Well, Ding and Neon really feeling the pressure here. But it's actually a shoe, and them have a nice little escape route. This is, again, I just have so much qualms with the fact that two teams are able to occupy the same building, actively hunting each other, and it's been like 3 or 4 minutes, and they're still going at it. This is just... It's not even any criticism towards either of these teams. I really do boil it down to the structure of the city. A shoe cooking up a preliminary nade, trying to keep the opposition subdued on the floor below. With hooks down, Lux and Furioso gonna have to make magic happen here. Lux securing the revive, but oh, all for naught as he gets casted first right then and there, and Furiosa not living long enough for the camera to even switch over, and now Liquid pouring in with 4 elims on the board. No time to waste as iNCO continuing their onslaught, this time engaging with the likes of Complex Esports. And on the alt cam, we're going to turn our attention to the Wolves, who I believe we just saw in the elim feed. We got McGrellin getting the first elim for himself and for iNCO. Turning our attention to their opposition here as Wishy holding down position with that Imp4 UMP combo in hand. And it's a 2-1 split here at the hands of Complex. And just like that, Bruno's in, down before our eyes, evening the odds to a 3v3. McGrellin gonna fall back to try to play medic, leaving Aegis and Vitaly in charge of keeping the pressure on the boys in Complex. It does beg the question, though, without that knock, or, you know, with that knock, did Complex have any intention to push? Well, with this knock on Vitaly, I would sure hope so. Otherwise, what is the point of taking this fight on if you're not going to make a push on it? Aegis is a burning Roman candle at this point. It's all riding in the hands of Aegis and McGrellin. And oof! Entity coming in with a third-party shot on pardon me, Vitaly. Bruno's in the final hope now. S18 in hand. This is gonna be a tough one, and the external pressure being just poured on by the likes of Entity, who's no doubt gonna be inbound for a third-party push. Yep, Bruno's in, making his final stand. No time to account for the Entity backside because he is outnumbered, outmanned, and outgunned. Can he do a squad wipe? Oh my goodness, we almost saw it though. We almost saw Bruno's in 1v3. Regardless, Complex out of the frying pan into the fire as Nash has literally no time to secure these revives, but he's gonna try for it anyway. Gets Wishy up and about. Ace misses! He somehow overlooks it, but Complex... Ooh, it's not so complex after all. It's a simple ending as Entity Hunter comes in to save the day. And now, fourth party shots inbound at Entity. And it's maybe from version 9, but I don't think it was. Okay, checking the feed here. Yeah, we're going to turn our attention to XFORCE and Poison. Looks like they might be squaring off a little further down south. Yep, with Legend securing a takedown on Lei, but swallowing a hefty high-calorie serving of bullets in retaliation. He is brought down to the prone zone. Luckily, 9 not too far off, leaving DK and Fate in charge of Overwatch and cover fire, but Fate has his hands totally full at the moment as he has got a 1v1 with P4. He does come out successful. S12 Scar combo, and now setting his sights towards the final 2 members of Poison, Candy Joe, and I guess Caster cursing Lowry right then and there. Candy Joe is the last hope for Poison, and gonna try to escape with tail tucked in. Alright, the Wolves. Oh boy, they're huffing, they're puffing, and they're hovercrafting, ladies and gentlemen, as Higzord here holding off multiple members of CK, cooking up some preliminary warning nade. Oh, this is not a warning nade. 77 naded down to half health, but revenge serves right onto Doran as he is naded back in retaliation, leaving it in a 3v3 altercation as Mar and Sue pull up to the party. Samar, pardon me. Look at this. The risky moves by Coops, just going to show why he's the GOAT. Walks right up to the enemy, and Martha Stewart herself could not have cooked a nade properly, more properly than the KWOPS. UMP 45, that close quarter combat annihilator, aimed outwards, focusing multiple lines of attention on Sue. 77. Look at Coops go. This man is just dominating the playing field right now, even with only 2 elims, just making a powerhouse show. And then a little caster curse as Coops and Doran are brought down to the prone zone themselves, leaving things in the hands of Baton and Higor. Oh my goodness. Well, all that noise and commotion may as well have been a honing beam out in the sky, and the Golden Pirates have heard it. With blood on the mind, they are coming in to attack ideally, a weakened Wolves. But what they did not expect was that the Wolves were expecting and ready and waiting, prepared for it. But as I say it, caster cursing, both teams fall, making his final stand. Can he squad wipe? It's going to be a quick, abrupt finish as Baton is able to secure the finish and without losing Coops or Doran. Unfortunately, Higor was lost in the process, but working their way up to 9 eliminations and carrying on as a 3-piece. And as I say it, what just happened? Who just naded them? It had to have been them. All right, well, turning my attention to down south to, turning my attention to Velocity up against Digital Age. I don't know what we just saw happen there. I think an accidental nade. Maybe they thought it was a smoke. That is bonkers. Well, Digital Age finding themselves in a low ground position outside the comfort of the safe zone, sipping on that blue zone damage, and only this compound cover to protect them from this high ground angle that Nexify and the remainder of Velocity are holding. It is a 1v4 scenario where Rico does not really have an escape route possible. And unfortunately for him, I think that's going to spell the end for Digital Age for round 2, any way you look at it. I'm going to pull up the alt cam here just to make sure we're not missing anything. We're going to tune our attention. Actually, we'll bring this up on the main feed to JRZ, where they duke it out with Gthesis. Alexis. Alexis at the forefront, biding his or her time here, waiting for a potential push in from Gthesis. All the while, Liquid closing in proximity to Team Excellence on the alt cam. Looks like it's going to be Ding of Liquid. And as you can see, Excellence, 2 of the members holding position. Oh, it's a 2-1 split. Okay. Honestly, I think that this is about as well as they could prepare for the formation that Liquid is holding here. Unfortunately for them, Liquid is just a bit too experienced to fall for a trap that, we'll say, intermediate, as they do a very wide spread. So much so that I'd call it like a 1-1-1-1 split, but technically it's a 3-1 split, where Neon is going to be the off-angle scouter. And this is, honestly, about as properly formatted positioning as Liquid could possibly have here. All right, we're going to get out of here on the main cam. Nothing's happening just yet, so Velocity up in the mix. It looks like that was the finish on the solo from Digital Age there. We'll go up to Excellence on the main cam if we're not missing anything, which it does not look like we are. Shoe's got a nade. He was not able to sink the battleship. And this is gonna be one of those situations that essentially they're going to get picked off one by one if they allow Liquid to push up. Well, I take that back. I take that back. The positioning of these compounds is actually one in which Wawan and 33rd could probably maybe provide some cover fire through the windows. But the middle compound holder, not so much. Regardless, 33 able to get a monster nade in on Doc. And that is going to bring Liquid down to a 3-piece here, as Neon cooking up a nade as well as a shoe. A shoe aimed in for Jawzy, taking Jawzy down to dangerously low health and then sealing the deal with that M4. Neon adding on to the pain, and just like that, Excellence went from a 3-piece down to their final hope, Wawan, in just a matter of seconds. And I'm keeping eyes on the other potential confrontations on the field. Currently, though, nothing has ensued with JRZ and Gthesis since we last tuned in. And, oop, the big bad wolves coming in. Yeah, all right, we're going to get that up on the alt cam here. The wolves are coming in for a third party on JRZ and Gthesis, it looks like. So, tuning that up. That is going to be it for Excellence, taken down at the hands of Liquid. We are going to get our eyes on the big bad wolves as they huff and puff their way towards XFORCE. All the while, it looks like Coops holding an Overwatch positioning. Yeah, and onslaught of bullets coming down on the Digital Age, very likely to be stolen by Team Entity, but we are going to go ahead and get our eyes close up in this altercation as Ace prepares for this inevitable push from Digital Age. Zendry. Well, Zendry is out of the equation as well. Entity bouncing back in full form with 5 elims to their name, carrying forward as a 3-piece, but by no means are they out of the thick of it. With JRZ just off to their east, they've got, goodness gracious, Alpha 7 and Velocity, 2 of the heaviest hitters on the board in front of them. Just behind them, pardon me, just behind them is the Sinners. It is literally a 4-way pinch on Entity, and that is just at the worst of times. Ace, the final, oh, pardon me, Ace and Nexus, the final 2 hopes here for Entity, trying to enshroud themselves in what bits of smoke cover they can to get whatever loot is available from these crates here. But as a 2-piece, you can bet your bottom dollar they are going to have to dial the strategy back. And I mean, this is a team that already placed arguably too much emphasis on placement versus confrontation. So this is going to be even more so of the case. So I would expect Entity to probably try to lay low until endgame. Well, the Wolves occupying a 2-1 split up against XFORCE with a high ground advantage. But we have seen this spread here several times. XFORCE 9 once again implementing the hovercraft strat as Baton utilizing that high ground, scouting the XFORCE positioning to his teammates and trying to get some preliminary damage. But we are hearing shots elsewhere. It's come from none other than the boys in A7, as guess who? Securing a takedown on a Velocity member. And boy, Alpha 7 really needs elims on the board any way you look at it. We see Sinners in the elim feed. We're going to pull that up on the alt cam here. It looks like whatever altercation it was in the distance, but Scarface catching a line on Coops and putting some dangerous damage outwards. Entity having a tough go of it as well. We're going to switch it back down to Velocity, who currently hold first place in this event, but are in a bit of a pinch as Bot and Lynx had just been knocked. Bot brought back to life here. Kuzi and Anuxify needing to provide Overwatch and cover fire. Kuzi going to play medic duty. Bot having to heal himself up. This is, yeah, they're not going to have a push from that, which is a bit surprising after seeing half of their player base now. But XFORCE 9 in the throes of it with Liquid. Can he 1v2? Yes, he does. Pardon me, 2v2. XFORCE really found their momentum. Whatever happened after round 5 and before game 1 of today, after round 5 yesterday, before game 1 today, whatever they did, do that more. Whatever, maybe they watched Braveheart and just painted war paint on their face. I don't know. Whatever they did, it's working. Alpha 7, guess who? Well, he got guessed out pretty quickly, leaving everything in the hands of Gizao. The final hope for Alpha 7. Alpha 7 currently holding second place overall. We are seeing on the map XFORCE closing in proximity here. Oh, Gizao right in the thick of it with Jack of version 9, and down he goes. Version 9 Jack Lord securing the finish on A7. Oh boy, we are about to get all out bloodbath warfare as we reach the concluding portions. There's only 1 minute remaining in stage 6, and we still have 9 teams up, spread across 21 players. Coops getting a takedown on Doran, or getting a takedown on Sinners. DK of XFORCE down before our eyes, leaving things in the hands of Fate 9 and Legend. Fate trying to drive out of the line of sight of the high ground holders in Wolves. Candy Joe of Poison Esports cooking up a wishful preliminary nade aimed outwards at Gthesis 23K. All the while, Gthesis Marshall engaging with the likes of JRZ. Scarface downed, as we had mentioned, gonna amount to a push from Velocity, very likely here. We got Bot, Anuxify, and Lynx. Now keep in mind, Velocity is absolutely dialed back their strategy here. You know, certainly a much slower pace from them than we have been used to seeing from them in this event. So I am curious about how this is going to play out. Luckily, they do have a number advantage against Sinners, but I hate to say this, the tunnel vision, seeing red, turning their back on Gthesis version 9. Tons of opposition here. It's just all out, everyone slaughtering everyone. Hawiwi taken out at the hands of Gthesis Laura, who approaches Candy Joe of Poison, but probably doesn't even know. Naded down to below half health and shot out of the equation, but it's gonna be from the big bad wolf, the KOOPS, hopping down from his position as King of the Hill, coming down and oof, taken out mid-air at the hands of Teddy. That's Baton taken out at the hands of Teddy there. Coops gonna provide medic duty here, but ooh, XFORCE aiming to capitalize on a third-party opportunity, throwing those preliminary nades, trying to make Hellfire crash down on the Wolves before even presenting themselves to the opposition. Doran naded down to below half health himself. We're gonna get Legend up on the alt cam here. Actually, tell you what, we're going to get Velocity's Anuxify on the alt cam because he is sneaking in. Coops naded down and out, leaving things in the hands of Baton and Doran. And ladies and gentlemen, if you did not believe in the importance of having an abundance of utilities come a PUBG Mobile Esports in-game, I bet you believe in it now. Well, look who had a coin in their back pocket. XFORCE, ready to live up to their brand name here and make that hovercraft strat do its thing. We saw what 9 can do with that earlier this match, or pardon me, earlier last match, just running over the opposition in 4 sexy frogs like they were bowling pins. Teddy engaging with 9 probably a little bit preemptively, but with no cover. It's down to the 2 teams, XFORCE versus the Wolves. Oh, with Legend down, 9 and Fate remain. 9 in the hovercraft, abandoning the hovercraft right then and there. This is going to be insane. Oh my gosh, it's all in the hands of 9, who has no health. And that is that. But what a freaking finish. Ladies and gentlemen, howling their way into a first place finish, and any way you look at it, it's game over. And what a match that was. The Big Bad Wolves munching a high-calorie chicken dinner and doing so boasting a record-placing 19 elims. That is by far the most elims we've had from a single team in this event, in the finals of this event. And keep in mind, Wolves weren't here yesterday, so literally they had 2 matches before they broke the record. XFORCE, I love seeing this. XFORCE once again at the top of the bracket. Ain't nothing wrong with a silver medal if you're bringing home 8 elims to add on to it. That's a healthy 16 to 17 point gain right then and there. Version 9 showing some improvement as well. Jack Lord responsible for all 4 of the team's elims, but a 3rd place finish is good placement points to add to it. Broken Spirit, Spirit's not all broken yet as they get 4th place with 3. Velocity, again, even when they're not holding, a 1st place finish, they're getting good placement. And unfortunately for them, 3 elims to their name, probably not going to be enough momentum to keep that tone that they've been building for themselves and their team name. But as Alpha 7 was eliminated after, I don't really see it being a position where they're going to lose that 1st place. We got, Sinners coming in, Sinners coming into 6th with 1, GTS in 7th with 4, the Poison Boys in 8th with 1, JRZ in 9th with 5, 4 of those 5 came from Hawibi alone. A tough go of it for A7, as Alpha 7 is eliminated in 10th with only 2 elims thanks to Guess Who. Liquid pouring into 11th with 7, Entity in 12th with 5, we got Digital Age in 13th with a big old digital 0. Excellence in 14th with 1. Golden Phyra in 15th with 2. CK in 16th with 0. Complex in 17th with, 17th with 5 elims on the board. That's impressive to get 5 elims and being eliminated that early. And 4 of those 5s came from Nash alone. iNCO, and a tough go for them as well. Eliminated in 18th with 1 elim from McGrellin. The 4 Sexy Frogs back-to-back tough pills to swallow here. Eliminated in 19th with 0. And, not exactly how they would like to follow a chicken dinner with a last place finish with 0 elims. But, wish in one hand, bleep in the other. We'll see which one fills up faster. But, ladies and gentlemen, that is just 2 rounds down, done, and dusted. We still have several more matches of intense PUBG Mobile Esports action ahead of us as we work our way into round 3 of 5 of the PUBG Mobile XLN Community Cup Finals, Day 2, in just a few short moments. Stick around, we'll be back soon. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back, welcome back. It's round 3, the Rumble in the Jungle. Good old Sanhok for what might be one of the last times ever. You know, it's going to be replaced by Rondo in the PUBG Mobile Esports scene, which I've got a lot of feelings about. But let's have a look at this flight path real quick. Ba-bam, not an ideal one, but it's Sanhok, a small enough map where it might not be as consequential. Let's have a look at the overall results as they currently stand. Velocity somehow boosting their lead. I'll tell you how it was. It's the two back-to-back top 5 placements, even, you know, a reasonable elimination number, but also A7 having some bad luck in that last match. XFORCE literally bumping themselves up to 1 point behind Alpha 7, just trailing with 64. This is going to be a close match. All right, already here, thrown into the thick of it. As we know to be the case with Sanhok, the Rumble in the Jungle, you're never safe. There's so much congestion, more natural cover to take, grass to hide inside, trees and boulders to hide behind, so you're never truly safe. Always could be a snake in the grass. JRZ duking it out with the big bad wolves as Hawiwi is brought down to the prone zone and sent back to lobby right then and there. Oop. All the while, it looks like the frogs squaring off in the distance. We'll pull that up on the alt cam here. Oh, wow. Yeah, the frogs up in the mix with none other than Digital Age. Tell you what I'm going to do. I just set this up over the last match, so forgive me if it isn't quite correct, but yeah, we got ourselves a dual screen here. Let me actually... yeah, kind of rigging it together as I go. But I think this will be good to have both views of everything here. I'm hearing some shots being put outward. It is no doubt going to be a push from the frogs. Let's take that up as the priority here. Frogs pushing forward. It looks like Lux able to get a finish on one of the Digital Age boys. Furiosa and Hooks holding opposite ends here, all the while almost there off in the feed. And Wolves putting in some work right here and now. We're going to tune into that on the main feed as, oh, Alexis of JRZ being pushed on by 3 Wolves at once. Coops, off angle holder here, going to have to deal with Flo more than likely, but Alexis with her hands completely occupied, making a DBS sing here, but unfortunately they have DBSs to sing right back. All right, well, that's going to leave everything down to Flo alone here for JRC, so I think we're going to go ahead and get on back to the primary view here. Coops and Flo, quick work for the KOOPS. Now tuning our attention to the frogs and their altercation with Digital Age. Looks like Joy Boy going to be the off-angle holder as Furiosa and Hook take on the thick of it. Furiosa a bit pinched here as he's got Male and Anointed covering opposite angles of surveillance on him. Hooks trying to hold Anointed at bay while Joy Boy pulls a side flank, I'm betting. All the while, XFORCE is in the mix in the distance. Oh boy, this is bad. We're going to get XFORCE up on the alt cam. I say it's bad because they are coming off of a serious building of momentum, and this could really be problematic for XFORCE. I don't know if everyone is familiarized with them as a team, but I've said this for years, unfortunately, but XFORCE is one of the most high potential teams in the NA Pro circuit, in my opinion. However, the downside is that they are also one of the most conditional teams in the NA Pro scene, meaning that you can catch them on a tilt, and if you do get them on a tilt, it can be the difference between going up one of the most intimidating teams in the region or just straight up bullying one of the most intimidating teams in the region. And honestly, I'd say it pans out to be about a 50-50, prediction. Like, essentially, about half the time when they are caught on those tilts, it does pan out badly, which is why I was so excited to see where they were at here at starting off today with two really strong first two matches. Oh boy, Digital Age making their final stand here against the Frogs, and it might not be their final stand after all. Joy Boy downed, leaving things in the hands of Hooks and Hooks alone. Looks like XFORCE did come out victorious, buckling up all the way to 4 games, but it did not come without a price. They lost 999 in the process, and if you remember correctly, 9 is their hovercraft driver. So that could be problematic come in-game. Well, I want to tune away from this, but realistically, Digital Age Rico, probably the closest thing to endanger on the field, as he's got multiple members of Sinners closing in on proximity here. He's got Jazzy pulling up while Scarface holds the off angle. Good thing Rico is not alone, has his teammate Mayo on standby. iNCO getting a takedown in the distance, but oof, in the thick of it, Bruno's is down. Aegis and Vitaly extremely weakened in this altercation with Poison Esports. We're going to get Poison up on the alt cam and get both sides of the altercation. Candy Joe naded down to about half health, trying to throw some nades back in retaliation, but it is a guessing game going off of audio cues. All the while, Entity facing off in the distance. We're going to pull up Entity on the alt cam now. Candy Joe is in a world of trouble here. The iNCO boys are swarming. Candy had one opportunity to get that surprise factor, and unfortunately the S12 shots were not quite accurate. So, switching our attention to the next potential altercation. I think Entity did just finish off their fight. Yeah, so we're going to go back to the Force boys. At this point, they are a three-piece, but being sandwiched in between the Wolves and Complex, Legend could be in real trouble here. Oh, this is not... That's not what he wanted at all. Unfortunately, outnumbered, outmanned, and outgunned. Fate swallows the same fate, leaving everything in the hands of the Death Knight. DK himself, the final hope for XFORCE after two phenomenal starts to the day in rounds 1 and 2. A much tougher pill to swallow here as they move to the Rumble in the Jungle. Wolves doing some unintentional assistance for DK as they keep the pressure factor onto Complex, but Velocity off in the Elim feed. Let's get our eyes on him. Still a full 4-piece, duking it out with none other than, I believe, iNCO. Yes, it looks like they've got a takedown on both Vitaly and Magrellan. And Aegis. This is Bruno's in desperate times, playing medic duty to Aegis here before what should be an inevitable push from Velocity that I am not seeing inbound. So for that reason, switching my attention to Alpha 7, saw them in the feed just now. Looks like it's a distance altercation, maybe even unintentionally assisting XFORCE as well, keeping the pressure onto Tuffo. Obscure fires away. Unfortunately for DK, the Wolves have caught his scent, and DK does secure the takedown and the knock on Tuffo to follow, but that is for sure going to be stolen at the hands of the Wolves, right? And it is out of there. So now, DK making a desperate escape here, taking a lot of warning fire from Complex. And now the utilities being thrown, the mollies crashing around him at the hands of Wolves. And boy, his moments are numbered, trying to cook up a preliminary nade, hoping upon a hope to sink a battleship before having to peek his head out. Any easy knocks that are low risk would be worthwhile, but unfortunately, in a real pinch where he's just outnumbered, outmanned, outgunned. Not really a lot he could do in that situation. Well, excellent, Jazzy. All three of his teammates still in the equation, but finding themselves in relatively close proximity to Alpha 7. Not a team you want to be up against. But let's have a look at the map as it currently stands. That zone shift inland and down towards the south is going to put a pressure factor on the likes of Broken Spirit, as well as Almost There, Gthesis, and Velocity to work their way into the zone. The good thing that they have going for them is it's Sanhok, and there's tons of compound cover throughout the entire map, but even when there's not, there's so much geographical cover and cover points that you can take. Well, Liquid versus Wolves is Ashu kind of tunnel visioning in and turning his back, unfortunately, to Higor. Coops driving around, scouting and relaying critical information to his teammates, taking the attention, and then still a couple of the fights head on as well, as he takes Neon out of the equation from a low ground disadvantage. But Baton and Doran taken out in retaliation, and Coops coming in, guns ablazing, switching to the backseat and just nailing Ding right there, taking him down to 10% of his overall health and letting Higor finish the job for him. Boy, the Wolves came in full form today. They might have missed day one, but I honestly think, you know, like maybe they're going to try to steal the whole event in one day. And if they do that, that would be insane. All right. Well, looks like a potential altercation could be formulating down south between Almost There and Velocity. If so, Lynx would be at the forefront of that, as well as Gutsy for Almost. Tell you what, we'll get Gutsy of Almost up on the alt feed. And it's a battle of patience. And you know what? To heck with that. A7's doing some work in the distance. It looks to be Guess Who with some distance shots northbound, getting a knock onto Complex Esports. The problem I have with it is I don't see it amounting to a unified push from his team. And if it's not going to be a unified push, then it's not going to be a push at all. And so all they're doing is bringing attention to themselves. And then Guess Who finds himself vulnerable to Almost There. Boom, boom. All right, so I think we are probably set to tune back in to Velocity. But Broken Spirit trying to secure a desperate revive from the distance attacks from Sinners. All the while, Velocity is engaging in the distance. Tell you what, we're going to go to Velocity, the first placeholders here on the main cam, and we'll go to Broken Spirits on the alt. Lynx, the high ground holder here for Velocity, cooking up a nade for Ice. Ice a little bit higher up here. I really like the spread that Almost There is implementing. I know that they've lost Wiz in the process, but unfortunately for them, if A7 does push up from the back end, it would be a really problematic situation. Oh, I see. So Lynx is not really getting any assistance from Anuxify here. Anuxify is down south in the cave. That is unfortunate. I'm going to turn my attention on the alt cam to Sinners. I do believe we saw them in the feed. And it looks like Jazzy and Scarface of Sinners are pushing in, trying to get close the gap between themselves and Excellence. All the while, here on the main cam, Velocity, Lynx squaring off with multiple members of Almost, getting a takedown on Wiz and aiming her sights up north, his or her sights up north, trying to get the takedown on Wiz's teammate. Gutsy, pardon. But getting those side angle shots, unfortunately. Luckily for Velocity, Anuxify had his back, and now they can regroup. However, this low ground is going to be a tough one without a 2-2 split, and I think that's what we're about to see. I think we're about to see Lynx and Kuzi take the focus, and either Bot and Anuxify try to flank and then run into Ice unawares, or we see Anuxify alone try it. Otherwise, I mean, almost there is recognizing this high ground advantage on top of, you know, the boulder cover. It is a real pickle here. The only downside for almost there is that they have a member of Alpha 7 way off to the side, and he would be the only one with a real line of sight on this, aside from Velocity themselves. Well, Excellence and Sinners going at it in the distance. As you can see on the alt feed, Scarface has been downed. Lynx being a sneaky little snake in the grass, trying to creep forward. All this noise and commotion may have put the bait out into the world here, and Golden Phyra might be preparing for a potential third-party opportunity. Lynx still creeping forward. Kuzi as well. Wiz could be in a world of trouble if they have a good line or a good idea of his location here. And I think Wiz gonna work a little bit of magic right then and there, getting the 1v2. Oh, nicely done. Both Lynx and Kuzi downed at the hands of the Mad Wizard himself. But they're not out of the thick of it yet. Velocity still here, but on top of that, the gap between Alpha 7 and these boys has closed. Alpha 7 Gazao at the forefront of it with Obscure, Guess Who, and 77, or probably Mafioso, all here in frame. Gazao preparing, got one shot for a surprise angle, but what they might not be expecting is Velocity to just drive in recklessly. Oh, pardon me, that's broken spear. All right, off in the alt feed, we see Wolves engaging with XLN. Multiple fights on the board here. Wawan trying to escape the clutches of the Wolves here. Gazao dishing out minimal damage. Oh, pardon me, not minimal damage. Getting the takedown on Wiz and swallowing minimal damage in retaliation. Finding both altercations here in frame as A7 getting a position of cover, holding that zone edge and firing downwards on Excellence. Excellence now riding in the hands of Wawan alone, and boy, iNCO gonna engage with the Wolves here and now. I'm sorry, but that has got to be what we tune into, yes? And on the alt feed, we will get the previous altercation, Almost Night, the final hope for Almost there, and swimming in a pool of enemies. He's got Velocity and Phyra and Alpha 7 nearby. Here on the main feed, we got Aegis swallowing that blue zone damage, but taking side fire from Velocity and having no choice but to try to push forward into the zone, and boy, Velocity capitalizes. What an elimination steal. Lay of the land shot here as Alpha 7 Mafioso just aggressively pushing forward to occupy that house for better or for worse. The rest of A7 tries the same, but Obscure eliminated in the process, but they did get some compound cover. And Nuxify using this opportunity to enshroud himself in a cloud of smoke and hiding in plain sight right in the middle of the street. Slaughter of Phyra taking down Mafioso, all the while Nuxify just healing in the middle of it. All these potential steals, but the patience he's implementing just to stay alive longer. He knows everyone he stays alive longer than is extra points on the board for him. He can get 2 points more just by outliving another team versus taking down two people through eliminations, which would give away his location. So let those numbers dwindle, but that blue zone's going to do what it does, and he barely gets that med kit off in time. All the while, Phyra separating him from the safety of the blue zone, and Phyra just being gate-kept by the Wolves themselves. It's the end of the road for Velocity. It's the end of the road for, goodness, Almost Night, who we see on the alt feed, taken out by Igor. This is very likely a back-to-back Howling Wolves finish. Oh my goodness, it's all gonna be in the hands of Fall, and oh my goodness. Wow. Pardon me. That was that. Okay, so in the realm of PUBG Mobile esports, there are the occasional outliers that where certain teams can perform just astronomically above others, at times. And this is, one of those situations where, you would imagine the Wolves, having missed the entirety of day one, coming in and using today to test out new strats or to just maybe grudge match against some of these other performing teams. No, the Wolves came in to attempt to do the impossible, and maybe they're going to try to go for a first place finish at the end of the day in just one day alone. And if so, if they are able to get even close to that, that would be a show of force worth mentioning. First place, 17 elims, 27-point gain for the Wolves in round 3 alone. Phyra in second, but with only 3 elims to add to it. Another top 5 finish for Velocity as they scoop up third place with 9 elims, 7 of which came from bot. We got Almost coming in 4th and doing so with 7. Alpha 7 in 5th with 7. We got Excellence in 6th with 2 from Wawan. iNCO in 7th with 2. Entity in 8th with 5. The Broken Spirits in 9th with a big old onion. Sinners need to repent in 10th place because, well, you know what? 10th place with 6 elims ain't bad. That's pretty quick work to get that in. Complex in 11th, but with only 1 elim from Nash. We got Gthesis in 12th with 0. Liquid in 13th with 0. XFORCE, a tough pill to swallow again. 14th here with 6 elims. I shouldn't say again. I guess maybe sort of just returning to a little bit more of that inconsistency would be a better way of putting it. 15th going to Digital Age with 4. 3 of those 4 came from Rico. We got CK in 16th with 0. Poison in 17th with 0. The Frogs hopping down into 18th with 2. Version 9 in version 19th place with 1 elim from Don't Look, and JRZ dead last, 0. And that's unfortunate, but ladies and gentlemen, that's 3 rounds of the day done and dusted. We still have 2 more matches ahead of us. Now is where we circle back and correct the errors that have been made in rounds 1 and 2. As we circle back to Erangel and Miramar, if some of these teams didn't perform the way they had hoped in round 1 or 2, they can ideally maybe have their IGL give them the pep talk, see where they went wrong, and correct those errors over rounds 4 and 5. Ladies and gentlemen, 2 more matches ahead to see who wants their fair share of that 1,500 prize pool as we work our way into round 4 of the XLN Community Cup Finals, Day 2, in just a few short moments. Stick around. Be back soon. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, we are back at you with round 4 of 5 of the XLN Community Cup Finals, Day 2. Just 2 matches remain, ladies and gentlemen. 2 matches to determine who wants their share of that $1,500 prize pool the most. And we return now to where it all began. The very first map ever introduced to the game, Erangel. And as I said at the end of last match, this is the opportunity for teams to correct the errors made in rounds 1 and 2 over these next 2 matches. So let's see what happens. Already we are seeing JRZ dropping alongside the likes of Alpha 7 at the North Georgia Pole region. Now this is a bit of Titan Series repetition here. This was a renowned drop spot for A7, I believe. And look at this, Gazao getting equipped with an S18, I believe, before Hawiwi and Alexis even land in. All right, I want to get the map up here as well. We'll pull this up on the alt feed. So we do have a bit of a spread, and it looks like CK and iNCO might be landing alongside each other, as well as Entity and Phyra, as well as Velocity and Gthesis. What is happening? All right, a lot of different options to choose from. I guess we'll go down to Velocity on the alt feed and stay here on the main. Yeah, Velocity and Nuxified hasn't even touched down on the ground yet. They had to extend their glide time a little bit further out to try to get past the illuminating threat, or the leering threat of Gthesis. What are words? You ever, like, try to say a sentence, realize you have the wrong word, it sounds wrong, and then you just double down like, no, I'll just say it again. That'll make it more right. Alexis and Guess Who are getting ready for an exchange of utilities. Alexis, not a lick of damage, and neither for Guess Who. Now, I saw Dr. Chemist, a phenomenal PUBG Mobile content creator, a fellow PUBG Mobile VIP / Next Star program member. If you guys are not following Dr. Chemist by now, you're sleeping under a rock. But I saw him in the chat asking about Guess Who of Alpha 7, wondering, is he a new member? Well, if anyone has those deets, spill them. Mafioso debating on whether or not to throw it in. We got Guess Who up on the alt feed. And I think that these two are the closest neck and neck here. Oh, but we're going to have to switch out. It looks like CK in the distance is going to be having at it with the boys in Liquid. So we got that up on the alt feed. Here on the main cam, JRZ, 1 member down. Philo eliminated early on, leaving things in the hands of Hawiwi and Alexis. All the while, on the alt cam, we see CK aggressively pushing in on iNCO. They have 1 knock on Aegis here. I think, yeah, we're going to switch to that on the main cam here. It looks like it's a little bit more action-packed at the moment. We'll get the A7 fight up on alt feed. All the while, Entity and Phyra having at it with one another. Bruno's in a real world of trouble here. Neon of Liquid could be pulling in behind Hustle of CK. This could be the saving grace for whoever. You know, I guess I can't really say saving grace for iNCO. It's still a 3-3 fight, a fair fight. But the distraction that they needed, especially now that Vitaly was able to get that knock on Hustle, it is really putting the pressure on the CK. Siu with the angle across the street, but firing from a very vulnerable position, and Aegis capitalizes from behind. Bruno putting the hailstorm of bullets outward towards Ding, taking him down to about 1/4 of his overall health. This is iNCO really performing well under pressure. That knock on Neon is going to put a pressure factor on Liquid. They're going to have to send one of their members over to play medic, but now they have evened those odds a little bit, as now Magrellan has to play medic to Bruno as well, leaving Vitaly in charge of the overwatch and cover fire. I mean, technically, Liquid could just have one guy on medic and one guy push, and that's what's going to happen as Doc does come up to the party. But as you can see on the map here, there is a looming threat behind him in the form of almost there, and Ice taking him out of the equation. I don't mean to just break the fourth wall all the time, but I'm going to do it right here and now. You can't get that tunnel vision and see red that hard and leave a whole 180 degrees unaccounted for. Well, we got the frogs in the distance going after someone. Let's have a look. It's going to be Problem getting the first takedown for the team, but unfortunately, Revenge, a dish served cold and fast as he is taken down alongside his teammate Furioso in retaliation, leaving things in the hands of Joyboy and Lux. Furioso is gone. Problem's got a big problem. Joyboy feels the joy leave the world. It's all riding in the hands of Lux alone. Lux desperately gonna try to pull a flank rotation, I would think, to escape, but he might have murder on the mind as he drove dangerously close to the big bad wolf, KOOPS Koops himself, somehow escaping by the hair on his chin. All the while, it looks like almost there, not out of the thick of it yet, going after Liquid now. And it looks like Lux just driving by someone as well. Sinners, oof, well, repenting a little bit too late, and Koops will not take that confession. No, sir. God, these dad jokes are... Well, Sinners pushing on Koops for better or for worse. It's going to be a 1v2 scenario, but we have seen Koops take on odds worse than this. He secures the takedown on Karan, but Jazzy with the S12 to finish the job. All right, so much action on the board already. This has been a Erangel start that we have not seen in some time. Sorry about this little bit of a freeze here, it looks like. Tell you what, I'm not sure what's going on. Maybe it's the emulator. Probably an emulator freeze needing a restart. If that is the case, no worries. I've got you covered, ladies and gentlemen. Gonna go ahead and not waste time. We'll get a restart on the emulator now. I'm gonna get the sound on for you on the alt feed. Look at that. RedEyes more prepared than ever. So, with this spread, I'm gonna tune my attention to Jazzy of the Sinners. Oop. All the while, version 9 and Digital Age having at it with one another in the distance. Jazzy holding off and awaiting that inevitable push from almost there, but quickly transformed into a birthday candle, and that candle's burning bright. Karan, the last hope for the Sinners, and now with multiple enemies just beneath him. The saving grace that Karan might have in his back pocket is simply that they do not know of his location, and Knight is not even to check. Karan 1v2ing and barely surviving with any health left over. Will he be able to get this med kit off in time? Dodging a Molotov by the hair on his chin. We are rejoining the match on the emulator now. Just a few more moments. Ooh, Karan sent down to the prone zone, and back to lobby he goes. Okay, we are gonna minimize this back down. What the heck? Oh, I know what's going on. I was like, what is going on with that for a second? We are back up and kicking here. And here on the main feed, A7 preparing to square off with none other than Complex Esports. Looks like Complex might have had a retreat on the mind, and I can't really blame him for that. So where is the next bit of action going to come from? I'm going to say maybe down south, where XFORCE is going to need to rotate into this new zone, but they do have a gatekeeping threat looming ahead of them in the form of version 9. But speaking of 9, well, we got 999 here, the infamous hovercraft strat created and invented by XFORCE. Now we can clearly see 9 is the designated hovercraft boy here for the team. Not the only one, of course, as Fate prepares to get one of his own. Now this technically is the more accurate hovercraft strat. The dual hovercrafts is what we saw in PMSL. Really keeping those hovercrafts undamaged enough to survive a late stage in-game where they can essentially just recklessly run people over, aggressively push people, and know that that hovercraft can handle a hefty load of bullet damage before exploding. Alright, well, XFORCE is not going to be fooled by the likes of version 9, nor by Phyra, so we're going to tune our attention to what remains of Complex. At this point, it's down to Tuffo and Chris just swallowing utility damage here. The molly's crashing left and right all around him, and as you can see, being thrown inbound from ice on the alt feed. That might be it. Ooh, Chris just... his health is chipping away, and his moments are... Boom goes the dynamite, baby. Boom goes the dynamite.
Boom goes the dynamite.
Tuffo racing against the clock, desperately attempting to secure a revive on his fallen teammate. All the while, it looks like the last hope for the four sexy frogs, Lux, getting a takedown and is making his great escape on the horse. He is the Lone Ranger remaining. Oh, Tuff is naded right out of the equation. And now Chris had to make his final stand. It was one sexy frog, then two sexy frogs, then no sexy frogs. All the while, we got A7 and iNCO just tempting us here with a potential clash of the titans, so to speak. And it looks like it's going to be all for naught. A7 turning direction, and we're going to have to bide our time, be a little bit more patient before we see those two square off potentially. So where is the next bit of blood going to come from? Well, here on the main cam, we have Aegis of iNCO putting out some warning shots, but to who, I could not say. We'll pull up almost there on the alt feed. Actually, we'll pull them up on the main feed for the simple fact that they're the closest to an altercation. They've got Broken Spirit nearby. And as you can see, Wild catching a brief glimpse on Wiz of almost there. Couple warning shots being put outwards. He's taking minimal damage in the process. Realistically, I have criticism of these fights pretty frequently. But in this case, I don't think I would. I generally criticize the fights that happen from this compound across the streetway. It happens very, very frequently, but it's one of those positions where it's such a vulnerable push across the way, and there's almost always a third-party threat or a 2-2 split from the opposition. So securing that knock without an immediate vehicle push would be almost a waste of resources, I would say. All right, Ice swallowing a lot of damage there, and oh, Gutsy is downed. Will this be the immediate push? Oh, goodness gracious. We are not going to hit that scroll wheel again, are we? And this is case in point. Broken Spirit not confident enough to push on what is essentially two guys in a house. But in this case, it's probably the right move, given that it's a 2-1-1 split from almost there. And I'm assuming that Broken Spirit might have that intel. Well, version 9 driving into the foreground here. Jacklord, Nito, and Don't Look. This could be exactly what I was talking about. That third-party threat. This is going to be what stops Broken Spirit and Almost There from pushing on any knocks between themselves. Like between Broken Spirit and Almost. If one knocks the other, the ability to push now is basically thrown out the window. And version 9 had maybe one saving grace in their back pocket in that they could have waited to fire on Broken Spirit. I'm sure Almost There saw their push, but not sure Spirit did. Well, XFORCE, the hovercraft boys themselves, not letting their foot off the gas, not letting themselves get discouraged. They recognize that they're performing well in the first 2 matches. Little bit of a change in the tides after that, but they are not gonna let their eye off the prize here. They're here to improve and to become the formidable threat that we know that they can be, because God knows when XFORCE finds their flow state. I said this to Enigma during the gauntlet, but when XFORCE finds their flow state, God help the team that they run into. All right, gonna take a brief glimpse at the map here, make sure we're not missing anything. Oh, we might be. iNCO and Velocity, this could be huge. 2 of our top performing teams. Keep in mind, Velocity holding the first place position. iNCO a ways down, actually, at about 6th place overall. Velocity almost doubling iNCO's points, and iNCO is, as I said, 6th place overall. That's just going to commend the performance that Velocity has made here, really building onto this momentum. Now, I know that there's a Velocity momentum dad joke just waiting to be had here, but I'm gonna just self-restraint, self-control. iNCO Vitali doing a little hardcore parkour Peter Parker and sneaking his way on over to the building, and I'm pretty sure Velocity is aware, but just in the off chance that they aren't, well, if they didn't know before, I bet they do now. Gonna take a look on the alt cam, make sure we're not missing anything. We are not. A little bit of flash grenade thrown towards Vitali, and then nothing to follow it. No push on the flash. Oh, here we go. Gthesis showing on up to the party, and this is gonna be huge. This is the pressure factor that Velocity did not account for. Now, well, oh my gosh. Come on now. What was an advantageous situation for Velocity has now made them the deli meat of a peanut butter and screwed sandwich. And boy, oh boy, iNCO and Gthesis are the bread. Broken Spirit, I'm gonna, oh, no time for that. Broken Spirit can take a back seat as alt cam will pull it up right here and now. Multiple fights in the same time. iNCO versus Velocity. Goodness gracious. Vitali finishing the job right then and there. We are going to rotate our attention on the main cam over to XFORCE in this close quarter combat with the likes of Almost There. Fate barely surviving by the hair on his chin. Ice, a little bit of the same. Naded down to 10% health, but boom! If at first you don't succeed, try again. And that is going to be it for Almost There. Eliminated by the hands of XFORCE. Alright. Little bit of blood remaining on the battlefield. XFORCE out of the frying pan into the fire, now reorienting their attention to the boys in Broken Spirit, but not taking their attention off that third-party threat, and good on them for it, because version 9 is just readily there and waiting for the opportunity to strike. Look at this, on the alt cam, Aegis of iNCO, well, I guess you guys can't see it, Aegis adding some insult to injury shots there. Oh boy, who is this? We got a Team Liquid potentially showing up to the party near one of the XFORCE members. It's gonna be Legend, and he is in a 1v1 tussle with Ding, deciding to turn his tail, turn his back to the opposition, and reunite with his team. Actually, in this case, he wasn't turning tail. He was literally waiting for his teammate to come and provide some backup, and that is good on him. They were waiting for an opportunity to use the hover strat, and I guess I'm wrong. Choking on my words, caster cursing everything left and right, and unintentionally giving Ding of Team Liquid a saving grace here. They were for sure going to push on it up until I opened my big mouth. Well, Hovercraft strat is in effect as 9 barrels through the likes of version 9, but 9v9 and 9 goes down. Legend coming in, guns a-blazing. XFORCE now a 3-piece Fate using that hovercraft for cover, making the DBS sing a chorus of death before being taken down in retaliation himself. Fate suffering a brutal fate, leaving things in the hands of DK and Legend. Legend cooking up a utility, trying to rain hellfire on Don't Look, didn't look, and now he is blinded by the light and sent back to the lobby right then and there. XFORCE still not out of the thick of it yet, fairly close in proximity to Broken Spirit, but with this geographical hill cover, not necessarily going to engage with it just yet. I want to make sure we're not missing anything on the map, and here we have it. 23 people spread across 8 teams, and spread is an understatement. Not any of these teams within dangerously, close quarters of one another. So this could be a moment of downtime potentially. And it leads me to beg the question here, with so little compound cover being afforded and it all being with Yasnaya, I bet Phyra, iNCO, and Alpha 7 are going to have this early contestation. XFORCE going to try to do a wide flank rotation to occupy it, and in this case, that might pan out advantageously. And even as I say it, XFORCE knows I'm talking about them, and they said, no, we're not going to give RedEyes the satisfaction. We're going to turn around and just do some inexplicable stuff. So I'm going to go tune in to the boys in A7 in this altercation with Golden Phyra. We got Mafioso cooking up a utility, trying to take fall of Phyra down. And give him credit, he was throwing the nade where he thought Phyra would be, not where he was. Rizzy, the next closest threat, holding this corner like it's his saving grace. All the while, the 4 sexy frogs, well, they're down to 1 sexy frog left. And goodness knows, Lux is making his final stand and doing it beautifully. Him and DK and Fate of XFORCE unintentionally assisting one another before they engage with one another. And now Lux getting some easy elims on the board here, bringing his team up to top 6 placement and added 2 more elims on the board for them. Lux has been a solo for the Frogs for a good while now, so as a solo performance, you can't really ask for much better than that. A7 closing in on Phyra fall. Phyra trying to make that stand, but really feeling the pressure factor, not just from Alpha 7 beneath them, but XFORCE in the field outside, iNCO just across the streetway. This is going to be an absolute slaughterhouse. Alright, well, a bit of a battle of patience here that I don't have. Guess who? Gonna use this opportunity to heal up, and he doesn't know who to engage with first. He decides to pick on Fate, and Fate has been brought down to the prone zone quite a few times today, but until you finish the job and seal the deal with an elim, he is not out of the equation yet. A7 and iNCO now engaging with one another. Gazao closing the gap here between himself and iNCO, running past the clutches of Phyra and engaging with Aegis in a cloud of smoke, but Aegis, he was born in the darkness, molded by it, and saw right through it. But guess who? Making him keep that guessing game going, and guess who? Serving out that revenge. Mean revenge. Now, Alpha 7 with 9 elims to their name, taking pressure from both sides. XFORCE just making a hailstorm of utilities rain down upon A7. Mafioso and guess who, both dangerously low on health. And Room gonna use this opportunity to pick off the remains. S12 in hand. but for some reason swapping the S12 out and suffering the consequences. That brief few seconds to swap was his undoing, and now A7 and XFORCE squaring off in this close quarter tussle, leaving a real opportunity for Poison to just lay low and let these two eliminate each other, get those easy extra placement points, and then attack on a weakened victor of that opposition. Oh, that's oh my goodness. I thought for sure that bounce was going to make it over the haystack, and Legend is thanking his lucky stars that it didn't. Matter of fact, I think Poison Esports could be such a dangerous factor here that I'm going to put them up on the alt feed. With Mafioso down, we'll put Obscure up on the main feed. Tell you what, we'll actually go in the sky on the alt cam here. And that's it for A7. Down, done, and dusted. The alphas are not the alphas anymore. And, oh boy, it all rides in the hands of fate. Versus multiple members of Poison. Candy Joe is down right before our eyes, putting us in a 1v2 scenario. Lee and Lowry should not really have any question of Fate's location, and you can tell those utilities are crashing down around him, taking Fate down to 25% health, but this one could be money. Oh my gosh, down below even 10% health, but surviving by the hair on his chin. Does he have the utilities? He's down to his last first aid, and that was it, and here comes another one. A sticky bomb, too. Now, gonna try to smoke their way towards them. This is giving Fate, honestly, the best odds possible for a 1v2 scenario. No! No! Oh my goodness. I'm gonna clip that just for the heck of it. I wish. Not since YKG Joey in Titan Series Season 1 have I seen a pan throw knock in esports scenes. But, ladies and gents, any way you look at it, it is a game over finish, and hey, Poison securing their first victory. Pardon me, goodness gracious. Poison securing their first victory since round 1 of day 1. Goodness, sorry guys, having a little bit of camera issues. But yeah, first victory since round 1, day 1. But let's keep context in perspective here. This was a situation where Poison absolutely deserved the winner chicken dinner, because they had the self-discipline to bide their time and recognize a situation where they did not need to engage on. Letting the once they made it to top 3, letting the other two teams duke it out, letting Alpha 7 get eliminated before putting any sliver of their heads up for grabs, before even presenting themselves to the opposition, getting those extra placement points, and yes, doing so, boasting a healthy 9 elims. XFORCE, you know what, man? I'm just happy to see them bouncing back quickly. Like, it is a tale as old as time is XFORCE on a tilt. And when you get them on a tilt historically, it's been one of those things where it can snowball downhill so quickly. Not today. XFORCE came in with a phenomenal start, had plenty of hurdles and setbacks, and look how they come in hitting the ground running, even in match 5, boasting an 11 elimination second place finish. Very, very, very strong performance by XFORCE. Alpha 7 living up to their name in the alpha bracket here with 10 elims even. Phyra in 4th with 4. iNCO boasting their way into 5th with 8. We got 6th place going to the 4 Sexy Frogs with 4 sexy elims. Broken Spirit 7th with 1 from Teddy. Liquid in 8th with 6. Version 9 once again, for the sake of dad jokes. Oop.
And boom goes the dynamite.
Version 9 in 9th place, 5 elims. That was supposed to be funny, and then it wasn't. Gthesis 10th with 2, almost there. 11th with 7. Velocity, a real tough pill here. This is probably the discussion factor of the match. Velocity eliminated before any elimination or placement points while the second place holder, Alpha 7, able to work their way up to a third place with 10 elims. That is really going to help close the gap between themselves and Velocity as we work our way into the final round of the day. Velocity could be undone here. And for the record, the Wolves entered this match in 4th place overall after missing an entire day. So I am curious to see, where they're going to place overall at the end of it. But unfortunately for them, a 17th place finish here in round 5 with only 1 elim probably thwarted the odds of them stealing the show. But regardless, another last place finish for JRZ, yada yada. We still have 30 more minutes, just one more match, a little destruction in the desert, a little bit of suspense in the sands of Miramar as we work our way to our 5th and our final round of the PUBG Mobile XLN Community Cup Finals, Day 2, in just a few short moments. Stick around. We'll be back soon. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. We are back one last time for our fifth and our final round of the PUBG Mobile XLN Community Cup Finals Day 2. And you already know what time it is. Time for RedEyes to cut that music and go over the overall scores as they currently stand. And check this out, ladies and gentlemen. XFORCE, Alpha 7, and Velocity all within winning contention here. Anything can happen in this last 30 minutes. XFORCE could implement a double hovercraft strat and just bowl over these enemies and take the winner chicken dinner and maybe even taking home that first place prize. Same could be said for Alpha 7, or will Velocity be able to hold on to this 11-point lead over XFORCE and Alpha? Well, already we might be getting a potential confrontation as we are seeing XFORCE dropping in alongside the opposition of version 9. I definitely don't want to take away from this, but I do want to go hunt around and make sure that we're not missing any extremely important altercations between the top placing teams. So wow, there's actually a lot of points of congestion. Looks like Sinners and Wolves are having at it as we speak. We're going to get that up on the alt cam here. Coops eliminated first off the playing field. Hegor following suit. Baton and Doran could be in a world of hurt. Doran down right before our eyes, and Baton, the final big bad wolf remaining, and he is huffing and puffing, but for all the wrong reasons. But he does secure a takedown on Scarface. You know what? I'm sorry. This has got to go to the Wolves here on the main cam. This other fight is taking too long. And I see that Complex Esports going off in the elim feed. We're going to pull that up on the alt cam. And that is it. The last wolf has been eliminated. And the Sinners going to be able to survive by the hair on their chins. But they've got a couple wolf pelts under their belt now. So at the very least, a couple elims on the board. Not out of the thick of it just yet. They've got a couple sexy frogs nearby to worry about. All the while, we see Digital Age down in the Valle del Mar area with their hands completely full with Broken Spirit. We see Rico just across the street from Teddy and Speedy and Wild. Goodness gracious. All the while, Complex Esports here on the alt cam. Chris down before our eyes. Wishy and Nash remain in this inevitable altercation. Actually, I'm guessing Complex came out victorious. I don't think it was from Phyra that those shots came from, but here on the main feed, Rico securing a takedown on one of the Broken Spirits, leaving it now in the hands of Wild, TSR, and Speedy. And unfortunately for them, Speedy has DC'd, disconnected. And yes, the frogs are wasting no time. Problem is giving a big problem to the previous victors of that altercation, Sinners. Now, unfortunately, we talked about this in the last match. That tunnel vision and all that noise and commotion from the bullet fires and the frag grenades, basically putting out a honing beam in the sky saying, hey, anybody wants to third party on this? And Alpha 7's like, yeah, thank you for offering. That sounds great. And guess who is, surveying the scene and waiting for the right moment to strike? All the while, Digital Age off in the elim feed. Now, this is a match worth mentioning here.
One sec.
This is a important match for a couple reasons, and I mentioned it at the beginning of the day. Essentially, this match and the match prior, where a lot of these bottom placing teams essentially had to realize that they had no shot at any of the prize pool, had to weigh their options and say, how do we want to play out the rest of this last day? And for a team like, let's say, Digital Age entering this match at 7th place and already 32 points behind any possibility of working their way up to 3rd, I think Digital Age could be a very formidable threat, a wild card performance team here, so to speak, in round 5. meaning if they have any grudges against some of these teams that are performing better, this is their time to kind of ruin someone's day. And for Speedy, I know Broken Spirit didn't really ever get their spirits unbroken here, entering the match at second to last place. But, you know, say it was against a team like XFORCE, Digital Age could be a real problem. Well, no time to waste as Gazao of Alpha 7 squares off with the Sinners. Pardon me, was it with the Frogs? Regardless, yeah, it's Sinners. And as we see Scarface and Karan trying to work their way closer to Obscure, but finding out that they are the victims of a 3-1 split, and Obscure is the distractor. Sorry about this, guys. I'm sure just trying to get this clip, but whatever. We'll worry about it later. Not important now. I'm going to instead tune my attention to what we have on the alt cam, where Complex Esports closes in on proximity with the likes of Phyra. And further down south, what remains of Digital Age what remains of Broken Spirit, Speedy, awaiting an inevitable push. The moment Digital Age catches wind or hears a single lick of commotion from Speedy, it could spell the end. Oh. I apologize, guys. We are going to turn our attention elsewhere, where it looks like Ding of Team Liquid and the boys in 4 Sexy Frogs are preparing to square off as well. It looks like, yep, here's the push. All right. Oh, I'm sorry about that. Wishy is down and out. Chris remains here. All the while on the alt cam, Liquid just insult to injury, griefing the heck out of those frogs. Shots on the crate to send the message home. All right. Lots of potential altercations as so many teams find themselves outside the safety of this next zone. Velocity, Digital Age, Alpha 7, Broken Spirit, and Poison all needing to work their way eastward into the western wall of this new zone, where they could be victims of a gatekeep from Almost There or Team Liquid. Okay. Yeah, Digital Age is closing the gap between themselves and Alpha 7 for better or for worse here. I'm going to put that up on the main feed because it is essentially driving right in between multiple issues here. It looks like Zendry has taken some damage in the process, but finding himself completely void of any medicines. No, nothing to heal up. No bandages, no med kits, no first aids, no syringes, no boosts, no pills, not a meow, nothing. All right, but regardless, here comes A7 barreling on through, and if they catch wind of Mail, and they have, Digital Age, I got to tell you, these are some analog boys, and Alpha 7 is not about that digital revolution. Digital Age out of the equation. Down goes Mail, sent back to the prone zone, back to the lobby. Zendry, with very little health to speak of, could be next up on the focal point for A7's rampage. We got Guess Who and Obscure pushing up to the party. I don't know if they know or not. If Rico fires, it's their... Well, the shots have been fired, and now what do you think's going to happen? Anointed pushing up to the party, trying to shoo A7 away with their numbers, but unfortunately for them, these boys are a little bit too slow players. Mafioso down before our eyes, leaving things in the hands of Gazelle. Guess who in obscure? Gazelle barreling in. Barreling in is an interesting choice of words with that double barrel shotgun here, the S18. Oh, goodness. Having to switch out to the A18. Rico really should have kept that pressure up, but falling back to retreat behind the boulder while Gazelle had time to swap weapons and is able to come clutch it for Alpha 7. And on top of that, without losing a single member in the process, A7 is going to carry on as a full 4-piece with 7 elims to their name and being a top 3 contender, meaning that they could still steal this show, especially after their performance last round where Velocity was eliminated early on without any point gain. Entity and XFORCE not far off. We were talking about these top performing teams. Well, XFORCE working their way, as I had mentioned, all the way up to 3rd place and only trailing Alpha 7 by 3 points. And that is a, for context, the prize pool here is $800 for 1st place, $400 for 2nd, $200 for 3rd. So that is an extra $200 on the board if they are just able to conquer Alpha 7's placement or point output here in round 5. Well, DK has not fooled Entity for a second, and unfortunately for him, taking some damage. Little saving grace in the form of almost there, though. Almost there, catching an off angle onto Entity, and I don't think XFORCE knows that that was Entity they were up against. Otherwise, that elimination feed would have been giving a gold nugget right there of information to them. We do see Entity closing in proximity with XFORCE here at the outskirts of Hacienda del Patron. Interesting enough to see this pretty radical spread from Entity. I think, yeah, I mean, honestly, if there's ever a time to implement a risky, high risk, high reward strat, if you're Entity, this is the match to do it. Absolutely. I'm totally okay seeing this 1-1-1-1 split here, or 1-1-1 split here, because Entity entered this match with only 28 points total and 14th place out of 16. They have nothing to lose, and but they, could by all means change the outcome of this event for XFORCE, for Alpha 7, or for Velocity. So even though they don't have a shot at taking home any of the money, they absolutely have a shot at changing the outcome of this event. I'm going to get an eye on Hunter of Team Entity here on that note. Aiming outwards, trying to catch a line of sight on XFORCE, but what XFORCE DK is more concerned with is the confronting threat of Alpha 7. If they push in, it would spell a lot of trouble. And I think that is exactly why DK is pulling a flank rotation away, trying to retreat back to the safety of his teammates, just in the off chance that Alpha 7 was preparing for a push. And let's get the map feed up just for a brief moment. Ladies and gents, we have a bit of a spread, and look at that zone shift. Goodness, majority of the teams finding themselves a ways outside the zone and having to travel inbound. All the while, we can see it on the map and on the main cam. XFORCE catching a line on Alpha 7 as DK puts out a hailstorm of bullets towards Gazelle's way, while Fate is in hot pursuit. For better or for worse, it is a risky push. And XFORCE, by all means, has everything to lose. They are at the very bottom of the payout bracket, but only 3 points behind Alpha 7. And if they're able to surpass Alpha 7's point output here and get those extra 3 points, that's another $200 in their pocket. So by all means, XFORCE has everything to lose here. but there is a certain potential gain. And with Legend securing that knock, I'm curious to see how the rest of the altercation plays out. Will they push in on version 9? And yes, they will. Jacklord is going to be knocked, and looks like Godkid is going to go for a revive. What am I seeing? Abandoning his teammate who is not knocked to attempt a revive that is an open, vulnerable territory. Version 9 getting a second shot at life. They should not have survived after that. But XFORCE is a punishing team here, and Legend once again dishing out the damage. Version 9 reduced down to Don't Look and Jacklord. Now a two-piece, half their starting lineup off the table, and this is now a mission to escape, and looks like they're out of the frying pan into the fire, away from XFORCE and towards Alpha 7. Obscure is down at the hands of Don't Look, and V9 catching a saving grace in their numbers right then and there. Unfortunately, the risky spread of A7, we just saw the downside of that risk right then and there. Gazal and Guess Who unable to reunite with their fallen teammate before the thirst, and unfortunately for them, that's going to reduce their numbers and have to change up their strategy a little bit if they want to really get the point gain necessary to keep XFORCE at bay. Speaking of keeping XFORCE at bay, XFORCE still only 2 elims on the board. And this is a bit of a spread. Sorry for pulling that map up. There was no reason to do that when it's on the split. Let's get back into the main feed. And again, a bit of downtime afforded to us, the viewer here. But you remember what I said in round 2? Or if you've ever seen me commentate ever, anytime we are left with a little bit of a waiting game, it always means that it's going to be more action-packed later on down the road. The action has to happen at some point. We can either spread it out evenly or get a bulk, super strong serving at the end, and I'm fine with either or. All right, well, look at this. Literally only 4 teams in the safety of this new zone, and that is saying it leniently because technically almost there. Only Wiz is in the safety of that new zone, and that's barely. All right, A7 able to drive right by Poison Esports without a single lick of damage, it looks like. But now, out of the frying pan and into the potential fire here, we are seeing a potential in-game finish like we saw in the Titan Premier Finals last day, if this truck stop ends up being where this match concludes. Oh, XFORCE is facing off with Velocity. 2 of our top 3 performing teams duking it out. They have a knock on Velocity, but oh my goodness, and all the while almost there, focusing their attention to A7. All top 3 performing teams are in the thick of it right here and now. Legend and DK biding their time. 9 pushing forward. For better or for worse, it was looking like an aggressive push, but just bowing out right before the road. Still a bit vulnerable here, but one properly placed nade could take Kuzi and Bot out of the equation. I think Gold and Phyra might be getting their hands full here. They had a potential confrontation with version 9. Doesn't look like it's going to amount to much just yet. And DK of XFORCE going to bow out. So, where's the next point of contention? It's going to probably be Liquid, where we got Doc up here with iNCO, or perhaps a little further north, where members of Poison and version 9 are going to square off on the alt cam. And just to get an idea how close Bruno and Doc are, Bruno does not seem to know about Doc's position. And Doc biding his time very cautiously here because perhaps he had caught a line of sight on Aegis or Magrellan, who are those off-angle holders and would certainly, or even Vitali, you know, he knows that the moment he puts that shot out is the second his location is compromised. And boy, he would be vulnerable to Vitali from there. But a beautifully placed nade is worth that. and he catches the line on Vitali, putting the hailstorm of bullets outward. Vitali shot down to half health. Bruno's in, desperately trying to crawl down, tail tucked towards his teammate McGrellin, but look, Aegis holding that far off angle, and looks like Liquid Neon providing the assistance from the distance as Ashu pushes up for a CQC battle, a 2v2 up against what remains of iNCO, McGrellin and Aegis. All the while, Phyra having at it with almost there. We see Dom one floor below the full team of almost. Well, Liquid, another knock on iNCO, leaving everything in the hands of their final hope, McGrellin. And to say it's going to be a hot pursuit is an understatement. McGrellin finds himself to be on the worst map for not having a vehicle. It's the most open, most vulnerable map in PUBG Mobile. And this is why it is a extremely sniper intensive map. I don't want to let my attention off if Liquid loses anyone on this, it's going to kind of boil down to just error on their end. We have XFORCE showing up to the party here on the alt feed. I'm going to put that up on the main cam because XFORCE has so much riding on this. And we will get McGrellin up on the alt feed here, just swapping cameras. Look at that, Legend dodging fire right then and gonna retreat alongside his teammates, holding that zone edge. Oh my gosh, here we go again. Well, no worries, I'm not gonna waste time. I know. We're gonna just call that the emulator on an issue. I don't know what the deal is, but we came prepared, so no worries. All right, McGrellin getting somehow the attention has been driven away from him. He was just a solo, biding his time and given another shot at life. Just like that, McGrellin does secure placement brackets for iNCO. They are now, at the very worst, getting that 7th place placement points along with the elimination point. It is all about damage reduction here. Up against the first place holder's velocity, that is a tough pill to swallow. All right, we are down to our final 5 teams, ladies and gentlemen, spread across 15 people. Looks like Dom is the focal point of Gutsy from almost there, and that is going to be almost it for Golden Phyra. Down to their last hope. Laughter is not laughing now. Gutsy with that high ground, able to utilize it with time to spare here. Oops. And we are going to rejoin that match right here and now. Let us get back into the thick of it. We are back in business. Better that it happened now than at the very last stages of the game. Okay, I'm going to get my attention on to Gutsy here. Wow, look at this, guys. An almost perfectly evenly matched fair fight to end our 5th and final round. A 3v3 v3 v3 v1. Almost is getting the push here on Liquid. Gutsy is that coin in their back pocket, but with Wiz down, Neon preparing a preliminary nade, hoping upon hope that those audio cues are accurate. Ice is at about just above half health. Neon taking all the focus here for Liquid. Meanwhile, you gotta wonder why the team isn't getting those off angles. It looks like almost there, reorienting their attention onto what remains of XFORCE, but I got news for you. DK ain't going down without a fight, because that boy's got a P90 and Ashu is down alongside Wiz. Goodness knows, DK downed in retaliation, but XFORCE really aiming to steal the show here. At the very least, they have their attention set on taking Alpha 7's 2nd place title at the least. And maybe with this 11 elims and a winner chicken dinner, could it be enough to knock the Kings of the Hill, Velocity, off their throne? Legend, a bit distracted as he's got the solo in Golden Phyra to deal with. We'll have Phyra up on the alt cam, and 9 lands an absolutely crucial nade. If he can get one more it's going to be a push. I mean, honestly, how many points does Velocity have? 6 elims? Ooh, if they can eliminate Velocity in third and get all the remaining elims, which I guess is just 4 remaining elims, it's going to be close, guys. It's going to be close. But unfortunately, 9 not really with a lot of options in his back pocket there, because Legend had to be spread out. It didn't really amount to much from that knock. Not able to intervene and disrupt that revive, or yeah, the revive from Velocity. And now this 1-1 split is making it so Velocity can push on 9 alone. But unfortunately for them, Legend proves me wrong with that amazing off-angle shot there. Now we have got a 2v1v1. This is a change in the tides, and our top 2 performing teams making it to the final 3. Can XFORCE steal this show? It's all going to be in the hands of Laughter, who is very likely going to let himself bleed out to the zone. Nope, he's going to heal himself up. Honestly, the most toxic thing he could have done in this position was let himself bleed out to the zone and not giving XFORCE that extra elim point, which could potentially be what they need to steal the first place finish. Remember, XFORCE entered this match at like 3 points behind Alpha 7, and there it is, ladies and gentlemen. Oh my goodness. Hold on 1 second. Yeah, there we go. We are back up. I just gotta do it. If you've seen Deadpool, you know I gotta do it. XFORCE, baby. XFORCE. What the heck? Talk about bouncing back and doing so in full form. If this is the XFORCE that we get come PMSL, we could see a totally different change in the tides. I love seeing this because of the way today kind of unfolded for XFORCE. A strong start after not their best day 1, leading into their trial by fire, where in rounds, I believe, 3 and 4, or pardon me, at least in round 3, we can safely say the Sanhok was a rough one for XFORCE. And where I would say historically is where that would be the beginning of the end for them, where that rock becomes a boulder in all the worst ways and just barrels downhill. But not today. Today we see XFORCE with their eye on the prize, and I'm thinking what it is more than likely it's fate on IGL. You know, taking a back seat in terms of eliminations and taking a front seat in terms of coordinating strategy amongst his teammates. And if that is the case, I'd say it's a success. Any way you look at it, even if XFORCE does not come back here as the overall first place holder, at the very least they earned a second place finish. But honestly, it's up in the running, and I think it might be a winner chicken dinner steal the show finish. Also, you should know I almost failed math. So Golden Phyra, a lot of improvement here at the end. Second place, ain't nothing wrong with silver if you got 5 elims to add to it. But here is where it gets complicated for XFORCE, because Velocity, the first place holder, still made it to that top bracket and 6 elims on the board. I think that that's going to be a 12 or 13 point gain for Velocity versus a 25 point gain for XFORCE. And if I'm not mistaken, XFORCE was trailing like 13 points or so behind Velocity. So it's going to be right down to the ringer on who is the overall winner. I am learning, though, that it's going to be a situation where I believe, let me just get this confirmation here. Oh, okay. We might actually be coming back at you in just a few short moments with the overall final results. So for now, I'm just going to run through the rest of them as they are. Velocity, third place with 6. Liquid in fourth with 7. We got almost there in fifth with 3. iNCO in 6th with 1 from Aegis. Alpha 7, this is a big factor here. Alpha 7, who held second place before they entered this match, 7th place with 7 elims. That's 1 placement point, or 1 or 2 placement points. So that's going to be a 8 or a 9 point gain here for Alpha 7. Oof, I am just so eager to see what the top 3 overall placement is, and I'm so bad at math that I'm a bit hesitant to make that final claim. But into the 8th place, 1 elim to Ace. Poison in 9th, doing so with 2 from Lowry. We got Version 9 working their way into 10th with 5. Digital Age in 11th with 3. We got Broken Spirit in 12th with 0. Complex in 13th with 5. The Four Sexy Frogs in 14th with 1. The Sinners in 15th with 4. Excellence in 16th with 0. CK in 17th with 0. And is the big one, the Big Bad Wolves in last place with a big old onion. But, ladies and gentlemen, first let me say we are going to, I'm pretty sure, be coming back at you in a few short moments with the overall results. But that is the conclusion of the PUBG Mobile XLN Community Cup Finals Day 2. As of that, all the matches are down, done, and dusted, and now we wait for those results. So stick around. We'll be back at you with the overall final results, finding out who is taking home what of that $1,500 prize pool. Be back in just a few short moments. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen. Oh my gosh, I literally dragged it all over and didn't save it. Okay, well, without further ado, I don't want to make you guys wait any longer. So here you have it. The overall results, Velocity versus XFORCE. I mean, honestly, I don't know what to say. 112 to 112. When I said it was coming down to the point, it was really coming down to the point. Now, if the determiner is number of chicken dinners, then essentially I'm pretty sure Velocity has the dub here, but I'm going to get that confirmation. I'm guessing that I'm pretty sure Velocity had more chicken dinners here, but we don't have that on the graphic here. So total points. Oh my gosh, dude, this is insane. Get this. Velocity has 4 more placement points. XFORCE has 4 more kill points. They're checking the handbook now. Regardless, what a freaking finish, you guys. What an absolute powerhouse comeback at the hands of XFORCE. Literally not even, but like maybe, I think they entered the day, what was it? XFORCE. I know I got this here. Hold on. This is, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, XFORCE, after match 2, worked their way up to 3rd. Started the day off. Oh, wow. So XFORCE began after match 1, they were already in 3rd place. So over the entirety of the day, kind of chiseling out at that point deficit between themselves and A7. But keep in mind, XFORCE entering the day, coming in today with only 38 points. So in context, more than doubling their day 1 performance. This is going to be insane. I am kind of on the edge of my seat here to see who is going to take the overall win, who is taking home the $800 first place. But hey, Poison Esports, you know, they overall performed better, or at least higher up the placement board than I had expected, because I believe Poison Esports only 2 chicken dinners, round 1, day 1, and then I believe round 4 or 3 or 4 here on day 2. But really not a lot of elimination intense performances. It was very, very reliant on placement, and that's totally fine. It's just a bit of a surprise that in the last half of the day, that actually ended up amounting to quite a bit more than I thought it would. Now, granted, the gap between third and fourth is almost 30 points. So that is essentially, you know, a bit of context. But they're saying tiebreaker goes to most wins. They're still trying to figure it out, guys. This is insane. This is absolutely bonkers. Big bad wolves are little pups now. Oh my goodness, says Devil Hugs for you. And Juancho says, yeah, but I'm still... Oh, Fate. Nah, I knew I was calling it right. So Fate says, I was correct that he is kind of sticking to that IGL role today. And I think that paid out beautifully. Like, honestly, the way XFORCE performed today, in my opinion, was the peak of XFORCE's performance in PMSL. If you guys can perform like you did today, every event I see you guys, I mean, especially, like, you'll dominate the NA scene alongside the Wolves, and but even at the, you know, international circuit, if you guys can bounce back from bad performances like you did today, I mean, that would be your Achilles heel here, so to speak, conquered. All right, I have it, guys. The winners of the PUBG Mobile XLN Community Cup Finals are... Dun, 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 dun. Velocity Esports. Congratulations to Velocity. It just boiled down to the difference of winner chicken dinners. And in this case, XFORCE, so close that I mean, this is one of those situations where I'm sure if it was PMSL and the difference was, you know, advancing to the global stage or not, that this would be devastating. But this is realistically a difference of $100 per player. Yeah, they didn't get the $800 finish, but they're all walking home with $100 each for XFORCE. And granted, if anything is the takeaway here, I think you guys should be leaving on a confident note. But Velocity, consistency is key. And Velocity never really lost their top placement, meaning that they, even in their poor performance games, I believe we saw a third or fourth place finish with like 3 or 4 elims. Not, you know, overwhelmingly impressive, but that was, you know, kind of riding around the bottom of their performances. They really found a way to sort of, when they're not making these powerhouse performances, to sort of dial things back without really letting their foot so much off the gas. They're taking a back seat from the attention, but not really letting off that momentum. And I think you can see it in Velocity's strategy. Always ensuring that they get those placement points at the very least. And I believe that there was maybe 1 or 2 matches today where that wasn't the case, but not so on day 1. So credit where credit is due. Velocity and XFORCE both get chef's kiss performances. Alpha 7, a little bit underwhelming for them, but that's only in context because of their name and their brand and what we've seen from them. And same can be said for iNCO and Wolves. But you know what? Wolves, literally at one point today, I believe, were all the way up to 4th or 5th place. And that's missing the entire day 1. The first 5 matches of these 10 matches events, they missed the whole first half and still were a contester for taking home cash. That's absolutely insane. Huge kudos to the Wolves and a huge flick on the nose to a lot of these other teams here, because, you know, these are the teams that you're going to be facing off with in that professional circuit for the whole season to come. So if you're not able to keep the Wolves at bay, keep them outside of your brick house, dear God. I got to stop with these dad jokes. Really got to stop with it. But if you're not able to, you know, hold the Wolves at bay, then it's going to be a trample for a season. And same can be said, if you're not able to stop velocity from getting that momentum build, then it's going to be the same case. XFORCE. If XFORCE comes back to the future events like this, God help whoever runs into them. Guys, it has been an absolute honor and pleasure getting to cast these for you. If you aren't familiar with me, I'm RedEyes. I do a lot of semi-professional casting commentary for the North American PUBG Mobile esports scene and have been doing so for 6 years now. It was an honor and pleasure. I hope you all have a great night. Be sure to go support XLN, the org, and a huge shout out to Lexi for helping put this on. And I hope you all have a great night. Have fun, be safe, and be kind to one another. GG's.